What's up, guys? Welcome back to Grab Your Torch with Caleb and Joel. We are here to recap episode 3 of Survivor 46. And unfortunately, we missed last week just due to scheduling conflicts, whatnot. But we are back in full force after a very interesting episode, back to 90 minutes this season. We had a medical evacuation, which always sucks.
Yeah,
Um,
brutal.
the editing overall of the episode was very strange. So I don't. If you
Yeah.
wanted to start talking about that, what were some of your thoughts about the episode?
Yeah, this was a weird episode. I think there was a few parts I really did like, but I feel like as a whole, it was kind of hard for them to navigate around an episode where someone gets medically evacuated in such a weird way, I guess. Like usually like with Matthew, he had like a torn labrum in his shoulder or something. But here, it was a thing where it was like either really bad or it was like he could have been fine. And I don't know, I feel bad. According to the sources I just listened to, Rain actually really needed to go. Like in the show, it just showed him like on like this grassy field with a nice shirt, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It wasn't that bad." But like in reality, it was like pretty bad.
Yeah,
So I'm glad he got help, but it definitely messed with the pacing of the episode a lot. And I just
absolutely.
think it was just like an overall like I don't know, even with 90 minutes, I feel like we're just not seeing all that many people. It feels like season 44
Right.
again.
Right. It really does. It's like we only see purple. We don't really see much of green. Who knows what's going on there? This week's content from Green was from 4 days ago, from
Yeah.
like episode 1, where they went and found the idol, and so like that to me is very interesting, like an interesting choice. Maybe they're like, oh,
There's
since
nothing
there's
bad.
a medical evac, we need a way to fill in time, so
hmm
let's just like put this in later. But they didn't like show it as a flashback or anything. It was just like
It was just
four
a
days, 4 days ago, whatever. It was very random.
yeah.
Um,
I did want to ask you because obviously the big storyline of this entire episode, this whole episode, I would argue, is just around one dude,
yeah,
Banu.
this is the
What
Banu
where
episode.
But starting out, like, what were your thoughts, like them coming back from that tribal and Banu's like
Yeah,
react?
that's a good. Bonu's just like first off, like he was very assured that he wasn't going home before like the trouble from last week. Like it was
hmm
definitely gonna be Jess like the whole way through. And so when he went up and got up from his seat and started asking everyone like, "Hey, is this the plan? Is this the plan? Hey, we're voting Jess right. We're voting Jess right." Like that's just terrible, terrible, terrible Survivor. And the fact that he was like fourth on their tribe in terms of how well they placed. Like how bad Jelinski and Jess were to get voted out before him. Like when he can't keep his mouth shut and like if he's in an alliance he can't even talk. So like he gets home, he's like freaking out again. Why didn't you tell me about all this? And he's just like incredibly emotional and can't like keep anything straight. Like he's just n not with it at all. He can't just like keep calm and carry on. He's just absolutely just
Right.
breaks down completely. And it's like you can't do anything about it. Like if you're their teammates, all you can do is like attempt to console him. Like you can't like say
hmm
like I thought Q did a good job. Like, hey man, you're my Philip.
You're my guy.
You're my
I
Rob.
I'd be so offended if anyone
I
called
know.
me. But I think Q specifically, I have to give Q a lot of props. I think Q and Tiff did a great job this episode, but specifically Q. Q consulted him in like such a direct way that Banu was like at first he was like, yeah, of course, like, and then he was like, wait, is he like playing a mind game? And I was like, no, obviously he wasn't playing a mind game with you.
Yeah.
And I think he's
Maybe
obviously
Kinsey and Jess told him to say that to me. It was
it's like
like,
Banu, come on, lock
Bonner,
in.
just chill out.
I'm I'm personally like I'm on two sides of this like spectrum here in a way where I'm like part of me loves that Banu's not just like game bot like
Yeah.
that's boring, just going along with everything. But a part of me is kind of like say what you will, it is so cringy to me that he's like, I'm here for a million hearts. Like, are you kidding me,
Yeah.
man?
That
Like,
was like, oh my
I
gosh.
was like, why are you out there?
I
Because
was like, they need to be casting people who want to win $1 million. Like, and that's
like
it.
I get the emotional part of it. I get that as
Yeah.
a journey, but like this guy
It's,
clearly like
why can't it
didn't.
be both?
Yeah, it can be definitely be both, and he. It also seems like he just doesn't. understand the game as well. Like
No.
everyone on the island is like, this guy just doesn't get what's going on here.
And he's
That's why
like,
Q
wait,
wants to save
y'all.
him.
He's like, wait, y'all are lying to Jeff. Like, I can't lie to
I
Jeff.
can't. Yeah, why can't?
And
He's
it's
like,
like
he's my Goro sensei.
that's
Like,
crazy. You should got it. That they really. What do you think was gonna happen at the tribal that was supposed to happen? Because like I
I,
actually think that Kinsey would have gone home
I,
because Q was
part of
like, Kinsey's going.
a part of me actually like I'm on two sides of this, but I do think Kinsey was at the moment. Then I think they were leaning towards Kinsey because Tiff did the classic like, "Hey, I don't know who I'm voting for." I believe that conversation was going to like very directly tie into what she was gonna do.
Yeah,
If Bonu could have just locked in and just been like, "I'm loyal. I'm not gonna say anything." He obviously does, and he's super emotional.
yeah.
But I
But
think
he's
because
loyal to a fault.
exactly, and I think the thing is like, I was surprised how like Tiff was like, Q actually convinced Tiff for like a minute. Like Tiff was like, "Actually, that makes sense."
Yeah.
It shows that like I think Tiff is in such a good player in general to navigate all this. But
Mhm.
I do think at the end of the day, I think Ch- Kinsey at the moment would have gone. But I mean, who knows? I truly
Yeah.
think that it could have been even switched at tribal council. It was
Right.
that close.
I do think that Tiff and Q are definitely playing the best, like overall. They've been playing the best on their tribe the whole way through, and that's shown really well. Kenzie thought she was doing well, but then she started just overplaying her hand. Like she's
Yeah,
like went up to Jess and Banu last week and was like, "Hey, let's work. We can be a final." They're like, "Oh, you want to be a final three?" And she's like, "I didn't mean you actually say anything. It was just
which is
kind of
like to
yeah,
me. Here's my thing with Banu is like you could be emotional. We've seen very emotional players do good in this game. Carolyn is one of the best strategists in the new era, and she's probably the second most emotional player. She's one of the most emotional
right."
players to ever play the game, and yet we all love her. And the reason I'm
Because she
like,
had strategy, and Banu just does not have
and the
any.
thing is, Banu has like had a golden opportunity to save himself. He didn't need to go on the journey. Like he lucked out in that and failed. But if he even didn't risk his vote, like Q was going to save him. They could have gone to it. Q could have gone up to Tiff and been like, "Hey, me and Banu are voting Kinsey, and we're forcing rocks unless you switch."
Yeah,
Like they could have done that. And the fact that Bonu didn't consider it, he didn't even consider like telling Tiff like, "Hey, like Kinsey wanted to work with me, like she wanted to vote you out." Or like just start I mean, you're obviously not gonna lie, but like that's the truth. That's what happened. They're
yeah.
trying to make a final three together. And it obviously kind of annoys me in the sense that like I don't want a game bot, but I want someone with like strategic ability. But I mean, it is in a way just so entertaining to see this grown man just cry this entire time. Like we'll go
Yeah.
into the journey real quick, since I kind of mentioned it. But Caleb, imagine this: you just gone on Survivor. You've been out there for like 4 to 5. I don't even know how many days. Like you've been there maybe less than a week. You get to go on this journey to maybe get an advantage. And the second you get there, this man that is probably older than you starts weeping at your feet. Like, I'd be flabbergasted. I would be sick.
I
I
was
would
like,
be like, what is happening?
and
And
yeah, it's just crazy to me. Like the like even we can talk about like I don't like the editing just overall was just like all over the place,
yeah,
and I just think they really didn't know what to do with the with what they had, and a lot of people think that's due to like because they didn't know for sure whether or not it would be 90 minutes for this season. They knew it was for 45, but they didn't know for the season. So that could be a reason. But I also think the reason why, because we noticed this a little towards the end of season 45 as well, like they would start, the pacing would just be a little bit slower and just be
yeah,
not as enjoyable to follow. And the fact that we don't like have the auction or different things like that later on this season, I feel like that will be the case this season as well. I think what they need to change is not to sound, like a broken record, but going back to 39 days would help so much with this.
it
Like this
would.
is
It would give you more
actually the
content.
solution. And like if Jeff or any of the producers are listening to this, which I'm sure they're not, like I would just say, yes, I know a lot of people getting backlash about, you know, 39 days. Hey, we only need 39 days. I get your reasoning. I like the 26-day, really challenging format. But if you do want to stick with 90 minutes, which I think has been one of the best things for Survivor in a long time, I think what would optimize that would be going back to the 39 days format because you have reward challenges to fill in there. You have extra days where they're just sitting at camp, and you get a lot more different strategic conversations there where you can show those. And it insulates the season so much better. And
Hmm.
if you're gonna, like, I heard this, like, if you're gonna add like 33% more runtime, you should add 33% more days, so
Yeah.
I feel like that
Even if
just makes
it's
the
not
most sense.
39 days, and increase just amount of time they can play would be so well needed. I think a good example is like when Jam they finally had like a rest day in Survivor 44, and Jam just like completely ate it up because that guy probably could have he would have won no matter what because how social he was, and he was able to do that with less time. And I think a lot of players here would have benefited from a lot more time, like being able to not just be dictated from the first challenge, or
Right.
like Venus is having such little time to make connections. She's someone that you have to warm up to, and I do think she'll be fine. But like I think in general that this season, like we can tell from the Green Tribe that they are just so boring. There's just
Yeah.
nothing going on. And like, yeah, it's cool they did Taylor Swift, haha. But like, who cares? Because nothing's happening. It is just I don't even know if they'll even go to tribal.
Right.
I don't even know
Probably
half of
not
them.
at this point, like, and do you even think we're getting a swap? Like, that's my question as well,
I
because the
we
same
didn't see
spot we got
it.
it last year or last season
Mhm.
was like it
Here
was this
on
next
Final
episode, but they didn't
15.
but they didn't show it on the trailer for next time on Survivor.
I I think they'll either hide it, or my low-key dream scenario, and it would actually fix so much of the merge, is that they wait till Final 14 and they swap in the 2 tribes
Swapping
of
the
7,
two to seven. Yeah.
and then eventually at the merge, it's Mergatory at the Final 13 or 11 or whatever you want to make it. Like,
Yeah.
you could do
No,
so
just
many things.
yeah. I like Mergatory at 13 is just killer.
I know. I either way, it's just like don't do
I like
Mergatory.
if it would be great if they just like did the swap with like two tribes of seven and did that for like two rotations and then just merged at seven. And they didn't even do like a double boot ups or anything, just like straight on votes from there. But like that's the dream scenario.
Yeah, I doubt it happen. It'd be very cool to see. Like, it would definitely change the game. It would actually make it so much more interesting because I think we have a lot of
Like
interesting players, but,
we've
like, all
seen
of them
like
are
every permutation of this like new era format at this point. Like
mhm,
just like we need some more variation, like not just in twists, but also like season format. And
I agree.
when the season format is the same and you change the twists every season, like that really doesn't really change much of the season overall. It just changes like little twists. Like I don't remember season 44 because of the bird cage. Like I remember it because of, the Tika 3. There's bigger reasons that I remember
Mhm.
seasons for than just like random twists that they add. And so if they're gonna just keep doing twists to make it more interesting, like I don't know. This like I did like the journey this week as well. Um I also heard someone say like it would have been cool if they did it like back to back, like where they're like both completing the challenge and whoever completed the challenge got it. And they didn't race against time, they just
Oh,
raced against each other. Thought that
that would
would be
be
that, that,
interesting.
that-
I
that'd be
like
interesting.
that. I
Yeah.
like that because both of them were like
Yeah.
I also think these challenges are like Rob had a podcast, talked about it, but I think Drew is, like, the only one of, like, the new era to get these, like, really hard puzzles and do them, like, correctly. Like, no one's completing these at any point.
No. Well, who did the math one last season? Was it like Austin, I think, that did that? I don't know.
Austin did it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Both of those, yeah, but that's like I don't know. I feel like there's a difference from doing a math problem and from
Yeah.
constructing a cube out of pieces. Like,
Right.
and
And
plus he was already like a what was he already a grad student
like
or MIT
right.
student?
And that's
Like,
that's also what made um the Sweat versus Savvy last season so much more interesting because they were racing against each other.
yeah, that was perfect. And
Yeah.
obviously neither of them got it, but like
Yeah, it would
that
have
was
been
so much
cooler if
better.
they didn't even have a timer in that one and they just like whoever got it first got the supply. Like that would make
Mhm.
it more dramatic. Like it's
Speaking,
it's essentially another challenge. Like
yeah, speaking of
behind,
challenges, I do
yeah,
want to talk about Nami and the
yeah,
challenge and Hunter specifically. That was like Loki. He talked about like doing them at home and all this, but I thought this
right.
was a really good episode for Hunter.
It was
He kind of
great.
like uh calculated, like he was like, yeah, I don't talk much because I don't have to. I know that I'm good because I'm strong, but he's like being very selective socially, which I
Right.
think is good. He's hiding it extremely well. Like
Yeah.
Venus is the only one who, like, called him out on it, but, like, she
Mhm.
can't do anything, like,
No.
Hunter's just so
Yes.
well insulated.
Especially now that Randon's gone. Like she has like zero power on her tribe at all. Like I don't know what she's gonna be doing.
Yeah, I truly think like her only way out is just a swap or like they just went out. And I think they might because I think it was so innovative personally to see like Hunter throw Tevin over and use that momentum to like fling himself over. I thought that was awesome.
That was like one of the coolest things. Like Jonathan from 42 is like
Yeah, that's what I thought of.
beast mode moment. He gets thrown up, he grabs his legs and gets pulled over with the momentum. Like that
Yeah.
was so cool.
He
And then
basically did the whole
he
challenge
goes
by
on,
himself.
yeah, and then he got all the sandbags by himself, like boom, 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 after the comeback to win. Like that
Yeah,
was crazy to me.
I personally think Jonathan's was like a little more crazy because he like was holding a ladder while carrying Marianne and
Right.
Omer and like everyone on his tribe and just like basically swam him to the shore and did everything like and while everyone else had to get like evacuated out. Like that was unbelievable. But what Hunter did too, like they're behind by a lot because I
Yeah,
think who was it, Liz or someone was like unable to get
I'm
off the
not sure.
box. I was kind of
Yeah.
confused for that. She was just like, and I was like, uh-oh. But yeah, it was good. I think that whole tribe is pretty interesting. Tevin, we didn't get to see a ton from Tevin.
We didn't see anything from Tevin or um
Soda,
Soda today
but
on
a
that
lot of
tribe.
Venus per usual.
A lot of Venus. I don't know. She seems like a really fun, like almost villain character. That's
Yeah.
like, like from episode 2, we didn't really get to talk about it, but like when she was first, like just when Randon like came to work with her, and she was also talking about all the things that her other tribe mates did
Mhm.
to like do her wrong, where she's gonna like just come back and get him back for it, and
Yeah.
like that was some cool confessionals that she had last week as well with that. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I think we have a lot to see with her.
I truly do think we talked about it a little before we started, but I truly if I had to pick a winner right now, I'm picking Venus. At every
Mm.
opportunity, even when like it is not necessary, we are seeing Venus's point of view. And I think it's very telling that during the medical evacuation, we didn't even get to see Green's reaction at all. Where I think if the winner was there, we'd see their reaction.
Well,
Um,
I don't think we would see Green's reaction until like the next challenge, because
well,
it
he-
only affects Orange because he's on Orange, and then it affects Purple because they're not going to tribal because of that. So I don't know if they would go to Green. They would just like at the challenge, they'd be like,
mhm,
Brandon was medically evacuated. That's what I'm assuming will happen next week.
yeah. I the reason I say that is because I remember when Matthew got voted out. We didn't even see Orange. We literally just see Jam and Carolyn's point of view of them being like, "Oh, we're not going to tribal," and then we like never got to see how anyone
Mm.
else carried. And I was like, and that at that point where I was like, okay, yeah, Jam or Carolyn is winning. Like I was so
Yeah.
sure it was one of those two. And here I'm like, I don't know if like we would have to see a pretty good reaction from someone from Green because I feel like all these tribes are kind of like a little nasty towards each other. They're very
Mhm.
competitive.
I also know like with the new era, we've had so many like game bots, but how do you feel about this season? I feel like we have so many people that are just not playing well
Yeah,
at all. Like this, it's like very dirty Survivor. Like they're just not playing
yeah,
cleanly at all, and that's a little frustrating. Like to watch, like Banu, like that's just like it just depends if
insane.
like you like him or not. But he's playing some of the messiest Survivor I've seen in like a long time,
It's fun.
and
Like it's fun to
it's
see.
yeah, it's fun. But like you can still have like the game savviness and the personality, like someone like Tyson, like those people exist. And like
Hmm.
Carolyn from even more recently. Well,
Like,
we have these people that can have both, but when you have people that are out there solely for the experience, which has been just a big theme of the new era. There's been so many people just like, oh, I'm here for the experience, Sean last season. Oh, I just wanted to do it
just
for
want
my
to
yeah.
go back to my husband, and everyone's
Yeah,
like, that's not how that works.
that's not how it works. But
Okay.
it's just if it's a game, you need people that want to win the game. Like,
Mhm.
and that's plain and simple. And that will make it's so much more interesting, I feel like. And I think that's been a bit major problem
Yeah.
recently.
I feel like this cast in general has like doesn't have like that pop to it, I guess, if that makes sense. Like even with I keep going back to season 44 because this is just the season I think of when I think of this season, is that we had arguably two of the greatest characters in the history of Survivor with Carolyn and Jam. And then we had one of the most like rootable, likable people in Carson. Like the TK3 is like one of the most likable, lovable alliances of all time. And it literally just happened on a really boring season where like, yeah, you had Matt and Franny, that was cute. You had Danny doing fun stuff, but like
Yeah.
I probably couldn't tell
But
you a
everyone
majority
else
of
was
that
pretty
cast.
irrelevant, you know?
And here we just pretty much have like Venus. Like
Yeah.
we have Venus, like we
It's
get to
the
see
Venus
Hunter's
and Banu show
perspective,
right now.
Banu,
And
but
then
like
I think Q is also a big stand. Like Q and Tiffany are
I do.
huge standouts as well.
I
Like,
think both of them are great players.
yeah, I think I really don't know who's gonna win. Like I'm still sticking with like my fantasy team. I think
Hmm.
Tim and Maria have a shot. I have pretty much have oh yeah, I have all green left, like on my team. Like that's pretty much it. I don't know if we're gonna get a winner from green. Um,
Did we even get to see Maria?
we didn't see Maria either. We didn't see
Brutal.
Tim as well. It's like those two were pretty silent, radio
Yeah.
silent.
I
But
mean,
I
it's
feel like
only
we have a
episode 3. It's not like a
yeah.
Death Note.
And then we also have a decent grasp on like their characters. Like they both had, or Maria at least had a good couple of solid like first two episodes.
Hmm.
Which I also think she could win. But you never know what's gonna happen with this season.
Yeah, I'm hoping this a lot of this is set up. I feel like a lot of it is set up
Yeah.
for later on.
I mean,
I
Jeff
think
did
the merge
say,
will be a lot better.
yeah, Jeff said it's the best season of the new era so far, which I'm like,
Jeff is currently he said that about season 44, so
yeah.
don't I don't
So
know how to feel
I don't
about
know if I trust him
that.
with that. And like, I feel like we also do not have very many good free merges of the new era. Like last season, it was a pretty terrible free merge. This season's not great so far. Like it's not like the Jelensky, like the premiere was awesome, but last week was kind
Yeah,
of
great premiere.
eh. This week was even more eh. I don't know what's going on.
Also, do you think it was a mistake getting Zelensky out first now?
Well, I think it really could have helped them win last week with the when they had the reach to do the persevere puzzle. Like I feel like that would have helped a lot, like him holding up the blocks for that. But ultimately, he was just not a great player, and so he's just got it. He
Yeah.
had to go.
I
You
mean,
know,
it's just I feel like this tribe setup, like you look at it and you're like, oh, they
yeah,
should be fine. I mean,
right.
like
And,
they all of them are strong, but like
yeah,
they just weren't.
and then also something to talk about since Banu like revealed all their secrets. Like Kenzie's
Oh,
definitely
she's done.
way so screwed if they swap like next week or the week after.
Yeah.
Like she
She's in the Caleb.
and even at the merge, like she's just not going anywhere. Um, because she's the mastermind. She's the
She's the
mermaid
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 and the
dragon.
dragon.
Yeah.
I love that Bonnie was just like these guys are like the most amazing players of all time. When it's just like, I mean, they're good. Like,
Yeah,
don't
there's
get me wrong, but like, they're not doing anything like mind blowing.
no.
They're just being like they're playing very well, and I would say the like each of them have like impressive aspects. I think Kenzie's social game is incredible. She just overplayed. I think Q, for example, Q has an amazing social game. Like the way
Yeah.
he talks to people is actually like kind of incredible. How like when he went up to Jess and was like, "Hey, well, then give me it back." Like I thought that was perfect. Like it. Jeff was like, "Okay, yeah, I believe you." And like even I think Tiff is just such a good like balance of them both. Where
Yeah.
and
I
I
think
think Tiff
Tiff's definitely the star.
I love Tiff as
Well,
well. She's such a good oh my gosh, I love her as a character. I'm I'm just like y'all have her out on your fantasy team because I think she'll
but
go far.
Jordan has her NQ and
Ooh.
Venus
Ooh. Oh,
and
Jordan
Tevin
sitting pretty. Sitting pretty.
sitting pretty.
I haven't lost anyone, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some
I picked Randon pretty quickly. That's it's just like a bummer. I think he could have done pretty well if it hadn't been for him getting pulled, which is sad when that happens. It's
yeah,
hard. You don't really have a lot to work with when talking about the episode when like there's no actual boot. Because I
yeah,
think it would have been so much more interesting if we got to see like where everyone's loyalties lied. And Manu probably would have gone home, but if Kenzie would have gone, it would have been a crazy episode. We probably missed that as well. But yeah, it's just part of what happens when you have those kinds of things.
yeah. Here's one more question. Do you think the Yanu tribe, if they went to tribal and like, for example, just simply voted off Banu, Like, are they worse than the Lulu losers?
Well, I feel like the Lulu losers are automatically worse because they have two quitters on their tribe
Hmm.
to start out with. Um, and they didn't even, I mean, they had votes for them, but they didn't even like essentially get like they quit essentially. Um, and then Brandon was pretty bad, and then Sabaya was great, but she just overplayed her hand, you know. So
Hmm.
like, are you talking in terms of like good at challenges or like the people left over, like
I
the
want to say
tribe as
like
a
the
whole?
people left over because obviously we had Caleb and Emily, two people that
Yeah,
like are good players, but they got out early.
right. I do think Caleb and Emily were insane. I don't think we'll have that good of a like a duo
Hmm.
or trio even with like Tiffany Q and Kenzie because like Bonu's just he's not making it for far at all. Like there's no chance for him. He's going like no one wants to work with him because he's so volatile. But I mean, he did lie this episode to the girls after he got
Did
back from the thing, which I we did
a
forget to
lie.
talk about, which is like kind of an important storyline. And he goes to Q. Like Q, that's just like how good Q's social game is because he goes to Q and he's like, "Yeah, I lost my vote," and Q's like, "You lost your vote, bro? That's
He's like,
crazy."
oh no,
Yeah,
because I think Q was thinking about the tie,
right.
and he was like, oh my gosh, why did you do that? I do. Oh my gosh, I wanted to ask because this is like a very important storyline, but like the entire time, Bonnie's just talking about how he's praying for a miracle, and then he goes on the journey, and then he loses it, and then Q comes, and then like it's up in the air, and then he's like, my prayers have been answered, and it's just random, like nearly like getting paralyzed.
Yeah. What do you?
I was like, oh, is that like the answer to your prayer? Like that's kind of crazy.
Someone else gets taken out of the game, so you don't have to
Yeah, it's
go.
just like I was like, "Oh my gosh." I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a funny little thing where he was just so happy and Rand is just like devastated. Like,
Yeah, it was a tough like the contrast there was pretty rough. But yeah, Bonu's not doing nothing. There's a reason we drafted him last. Like
yeah.
I don't see anything that he could do to win the game. Like if he makes it to the final three, he's not getting any votes.
Yeah, he's probably the most likely final like zero vote finalist, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
If he's not taken out soon, because like I think he's just like a detriment to anyone who he's playing with. Like he's a number, so everyone is gonna want to pull him in, but he's also gonna
Just
let that
unreliable.
he's unreliable, so he's just gonna let it spill. He might flip. Who knows? So like he might be just the worst of the two evils of like him and Kinsey because although Kinsey was like overplaying and she will probably jump over to the other tribe and make those connections like Caleb would, I think
Mhm.
Bonu's just like an automatic like shot in the foot, like if you
Yeah,
have him
he's
in your alliance.
I agree. And like I feel like just in general, I feel like Purple's just in such a rough spot being down in numbers. Like
There's if they don't
his
have a
whole
swap, there's no way they're winning any more challenges. Like I think
I agree. And even in the merge, like all these people literally just saw season 44. They just saw the Tika 3 bounce between the two and essentially like break the new era of Survivor with like this the littler numbers going back and forth. We saw it in 45 where like they didn't allow Caleb and Emily to do that.
right.
They and I don't think they're gonna allow them to here.
I mean
They
they
would
did
have to
let the
choose a
Re
side.
before just absolutely demolish everyone.
That's true, but they came into it with the majority, which was the difference of it. They're not going to allow the small tribes to do it anymore. Which I think if you go off the rip, it would be like green as the I feel like, but I think we might be in for a more fluid merge.
Who knows what's gonna happen? All we can do is wait until next week to figure out more pieces of the story, and hopefully we get a lot more of a balanced episode in terms of the editing.
Hopefully,
But
yeah,
do you have any like final thoughts on the episode? I just thought it was just like a wild like roller coaster the whole way through of just
yeah.
Banu.
I
Like
think it was
Banu
fun
crying
watching.
was like at least 50% of the episode.
Oh, easily, maybe even like 85. Like he was just crying and yapping the entire time. It was insane. It was impressive almost.
Yeah.
I almost respect it. But overall, I'm hoping that the season kind of like starts ramping up. I know this is probably just going to be like a slow like ramp up into like how crazy this merge is going to be because I have no choice but to trust Jeff that this will be a pretty interesting like season.
They did
And I
say the
think a lot
players
of
were here to play, so I'm hoping that post merge will be so much better than what it's been so far.
yeah, I agree.
Well, I think that is all that we have time for today. If you are still watching or listening, please go ahead and leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as that helps us find more Survivor fans in the community and helps us to kind of get larger following. And then if you're listening, you can also, if you're on YouTube and you want to listen, you can listen to wherever you listen to podcasts. Um, but other than that, we just thank you all for just sticking around with us. We'll be back next week around the same time to recap episode 4, and we're excited to see what happens the rest of Survivor 46. So we will see you guys next week.
See ya.